Hello. My name is Wangari. Wangari's mom. I love technology. I am a leader. I love doing things that I'm passionate about. I also a Pilates instructor. And today I'm just going to be talking about one of the things I'm passionate about, which is like good workplace culture. So welcome to 9 to 5 with Wangari. And today we'll be talking about what actually is like workplace toxicity and its effects on your mental health. So today I'd like to welcome someone I have known from like the day I came onto this earth, quite literally. She's my sister. What is wrong with you?
Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. Yeah, I'm the funny one. I have the humor. So anyway, my sister, she's a psychologist. Sure. So over to you, Sandra. Nyawira. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your experiences, and yeah, just we want to get to know you.
All right. Thank you, and it's nice to be here. So as Wangari said, my name is Nyawira, and I am a counseling psychologist. I've been a counseling psychologist for about 15 years. I love deeply. That's the first thing. I would say that I'm a humanitarian at heart. It's something that I have always found that I want to help people and people that are underprivileged and also who cannot get access to help. Also, I love traveling. I should have specified, when I said I love deeply, it was more with regards to my family, and I'll do anything for them.
So what led you to become a psychologist?
A funny story. I've always known I wanted to be a psychologist from when I was 16. I used to, with my godmother that's deceased, she used to hold seminars with children in schools and adolescents, and I attended a couple of them. And from that moment, I knew I wanted to be the one to give people a space to talk and be able to have someone listen to them. So after that, I thought about it. And from the age of 16, I wanted to be a psychologist.
Awesome. I didn't even know that story about you.
Yeah, that's why.
Very cool. Okay. Where did you study? I want to know your credentials. I'm speaking to someone legit here. So yeah, let's just talk about that.
All right. Well, it's funny you say you want to know someone legit, because my intro to where I studied. So our dad, wrote a really good application letter for the university for me, so that I know, so that I could get into a really good university that had a good psychology program. So he wrote for me the application letter, and are you gonna cry?
No, I'm not gonna cry.
He wrote for me the application letter, and I joined a university in the US, and I did my undergraduate in psychology there. And then, as you know, our parents are like, we'll pay for your undergrad and for your master's thesis and pay for yourself. So I was wise, and I found a university that was affordable, that they wouldn't say they're not gonna pay. So one of my lecturers in the US was a visiting lecturer in a university in South Africa. So she recommended a university in South Africa. So I went on and I did my postgrad and honors and masters in counseling psychology.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that. So at the moment, what kind of work are you doing, like with your counseling psychology?
Yeah. So I have been a humanitarian worker for a very long time, about 14 years. I've been in the humanitarian field, so implementing and supervising mental health and psychosocial programs in different contexts and different countries. So I've been privileged to get the experience to travel with work, which is also something I love to do. And it's really, I think it's also built my personality in the sense of it's made me very understanding of people, very liberal, and also very thankful.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's wonderful. Really good. So I just want to switch it up to like the topic we're talking about. Can you explain to me like what, in terms of mental health and psychology, what is a toxic work environment?
Oh, wow. Okay. So when we look at a toxic work environment, this is basically a job where the work that's been done, the atmosphere, or the people cause significant distress to an individual or the organization in general.
Okay, and what does that look like? Like if you go to like really drill it down to like a personal level.
On a personal level, okay. So you could have things like very narcissistic managers.
Yeah, okay.
And these are managers who will be like, I'm correct, you're wrong. You can never go against anything that I tell you to go against, because what I say, you need to nod and say yes. And if you challenge them, they then have issues with a specific employer. Yeah, that person. I'm like, that's too much English. and then so that's the first example. And then you also have things like offices where you have cliques and gossip. Where there is lack of communication or poor communication, and lack of communication in the sense of where people are not talking, the work is expected to be done and it's not happening, or information is being passed on to specific people and others are kind of left in the dark.
Yeah, man. I mean, that just, everything that you describes is just so wrong and unfair and unjust. I'd like to come down to you as a person. You as a psychologist, have you ever experienced like this toxic work environment? Have you? I mean, it's interesting.
Like, have I never? Sorry.
Yeah.
I definitely have experienced toxic work environments, and I'll even talk about the first time. My first international assignment, I experienced such a toxic work environment to the extent I got burnt out. I had to take 3 months off.
Wow.
And also, in addition to that, because I was burnt out, my immune system was low. It was easier for me to get illnesses. So I also got TB. I was working in a TB hospital. So because of all that stuff, it was just like, I was down, I got burnt out. I didn't know how to handle it. It was my first experience away from home as working for an organization and with TB. Yeah, and I had to take meds for a very long time.
It's just so interesting how all these things are connected, mind, body, soul. And I don't think enough organizations are realizing like the connection with all this, like how like an environment can get you really sick, can affect your immune system. I mean, from you, I want to hear, especially in Kenya, do you think we're doing enough in terms of, you've mentioned what it looks like, it's that narcissistic manager, it's poor communication that's happening, it's the cliques. Is there enough conversations happening? Are corporates doing enough? Do you know, you as a psychologist, do you know if enough corporates have people like you in the workplace where I'm feeling like this, my manager is being narcissistic, what do I do?
I think, I don't want to generalize because also I haven't worked a lot in Kenya, though I would say from the few experiences that I've had working in Kenya, in 4 different companies that are big companies, the managers will give you the ear to listen, though there's no intervention after. And then there's aspects of confidentiality, so if someone reports, then everybody knows about it, where it should be that it is something that's confidential. And then also taking into account the Employment Act of Kenya, there is very specific details as to if something happens, what channels should be used. That's also something that's lacking. And with regards to psychologists in offices, I don't know. I know some companies do have psychologists on site who either do trainings, who talk about how to make a healthy workplace, having wellness champions in the organization, though I wouldn't say it's many of them.
Yeah, I wonder like if any of you are listening, if your workplace and you work in a big corporation has like, as she says, wellness people who are pushing for wellness and health and well-being, I'd love to know, because I don't know of like any organizations that are actually pushing for this. So thanks for that. I mean, you also talked about, like at the beginning when you talked about your experience, I want to dig deeper into like, how does this present itself as an individual? And as an individual, how do I know that it's time to stop, time to like, this is getting to me, this is affecting my health? I mean, you got TB, you're out for 3 months. Yeah, just give the listeners, the audience, it's just some tips.
Okay. And I think even before I answer that, it's important to know that stress in the workplace is normal.
Yeah,
all right? It's normal, and it's really good for you, even just to get you like moving to accomplish a number of your activities. Though if you are waking up and you're thinking, oh crap, I have to go to work. When you get to work, you're feeling your chest is tighter, or you're having anxiety, or you're having headaches. It's also impacting your social connections with people outside of work. Then you know there's a problem. You know that there's something you need to do. You have to, and I do understand it's sometimes it's hard to change jobs.
Yeah.
I do know people, both clients and friends, who it's been a while to get a different job, so they end up stuck in that place without having anywhere to go. So it's really just noticing what's going on within you in terms of what's your body saying, what's your physical body saying, what are your emotions saying. Because even just something like being sick all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I always say this, you find that a lot of the times we end up at the hospital
with nothing wrong.
and you're told all your tests are normal, and you're like, no, I can feel the pain, it's here.
Yeah.
So and even for myself, when I had TB, I had severe chest pain, and my x-ray was fine. And thankfully for our sister that's a doctor, she was like, get a CT scan, because that's more diagnostic and you can be able to see anything, and that's where they picked it up. So even my chest pain was not, it was caught, I didn't have symptoms. Yeah. My chest pain was a symptom of the stress that I was experiencing at the place I was working.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what are your tips for like people, like, you know, I think there's just so many people in the workplace who are going, not everyone is lucky enough to have a great leader. Yeah. Sometimes we're dealt with, as you said, narcissistic people who just tell you what to do. You feel very, very left out, you feel isolated. Yeah. What are your tips for these individuals and also for the organization? Okay.
I think for me, the first thing I would say is when you're in any workspace, there are people who you will always find have the same values as you. Yeah, so you can always find like a group of people who you have each other's backs, and you're kind of like just taking care of each other, like peer support. Yeah. You're taking care of each other, you're checking on each other, how's this person, how are you doing, how was your day, if they do have a stressful moment, what can I do to support you? Yeah. I would also say something like also every day after work, doing something that relaxes you. Okay. You know? Like what? It depends on individuals. For me, I would paint.
Okay, is drinking good? Because I know Kenyans are very big, like after a day of work, let's go drink. Would you recommend that as a way to relax or?
So as a psychologist, I would say that having a drink to unwind is okay. Yeah. You know, it's totally okay. Though if we're using alcohol to numb ourselves or to numb pain that we're feeling, it numbs it temporarily, and then the effects of the alcohol go, and you still haven't solved the issue, and it keeps growing and growing and growing and having bigger impacts on your physical state, your emotional state. Yeah.
So you talked about having a glass of wine or like a beer.
Have a glass of wine, a beer, painting, listening to music, exercising, adult coloring, talking to a loved one about your day, though also to be careful about that, because you don't want to take away the time of bonding to just always, I'm just going to sit and complain about work. So really seeing how you can have a balance between those two of, are you going to pick one day a week where you're just going to talk about your experience at the office so that they can be in the know of what you're experiencing and also be supportive. Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you. And just to think also about some of the things I was saying. So another thing also is I think it's really important to have an exit plan. Yeah. If you're facing a toxic work environment, I don't believe you have to suffer.
No. Yeah.
Nobody should have to suffer. And this is a conversation I've had with some of I was in a very toxic work environment the last time I worked in Kenya, for many reasons. There was a lot of cliques. The leadership also was questionable. Also some of the things that were said to staff, making them feel they're so special that they have been hired. And for me, just that experience, I was like, I need to start looking for jobs. So I started like messaging all my past recruiters and telling them I'm available. When you hear something, let me know, and then I can decide. So even to go back to the humanitarian field, when I took a break for 2 years, that's how I started making my exit plan. Yeah. Looking at where can I go, where I'm respected, I'm valued. Exactly. My comments are appreciated. I'm given feedback on a regular basis. And remember, feedback is not, I don't want to be patted on my back every day, but it's, just a good job once in a while because you're putting in a lot of efforts. And all of us need feedback. And constructive feedback as to please work on this or please continue doing this. So it's really just looking at these different aspects.
Okay, that's really awesome. Yeah. So just an interesting question. How come you decided to come and speak on my show? Like, apart from me being your sister and you owe me that, like, you must have a reason why you feel. Yeah.
For me, this is something I really feel is so important because I compare my first experience of a toxic work environment that broke me to now, where I know that I don't have to stand for it. I speak up for it. If I see it happening to other people, I also advocate and report and see how I can support. So when I went in, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know I could help. I didn't know it was wrong. And where I am right now, I cannot stand for it. It's something that many people know about me when they work for me, when they work with me, and also for me in terms of the staff I supervise, that it's something I like to raise awareness on. And one of the things, I'm sure even when some of my supervisees watch, I'm always like, if I am wrong, you can tell me. I would rather you tell me immediately so that we can address it. And it's also modeling that it's okay to give each other feedback. It's totally okay, and you're not going to get in trouble for coming and tell me, I don't agree with you, this was wrong. So that's why I was like, this is something I want to talk about, because my first experience has made me grow and has also kind of made me an advocate for also not agreeing with toxic work environments and seeing how people can change.
Awesome. Yeah. That was really, really good. So I do want to find out, like, you've talked about like workplace toxicity, and sometimes you can get sucked into being toxic. Like, how do you stop that? How do you stop from being the toxic one? Like, because like if you have a narcissistic manager and he's managing you in a narcissistic way, he or her or him, no, what? Say down there. Employee. It is that person, the manager.
You should have our other siblings come on the show so that they can show they know English, not us. Okay, continue.
Oh my God. Anyway, that manager, and then there's you as a person. You're also a leader. So it's very hard to be, this person's toxic, they bring this toxicity to you. It's, how do you stop that? How do you stop from being the toxic one, turning into the toxic one?
That's difficult. And I think it needs a lot of self-reflection and also people really going back to who am I as an individual. I think our values as an individual in our personal life, we should bring them into work. So that when you do find a work culture that you are like, oh no, this is different from me, that you can actually try and see how you can still instill your personal values in the workplace that you are. And I do realize that sometimes people are fearful for losing their jobs, to lose their jobs. They are scared because if I don't, let's say for instance, there's a narcissistic manager and they are asking them to do something, or going to ask them questions to find out some info or deets about stuff, they're scared that they have to share the information. So it's really just people working on themselves. Looking at what are your values, what do you value coming in, and what are you going to integrate with the existing work culture. Because once you're doing it differently, I've seen people, they come in, they're so lovely and pleasant, and then they hang out with the clique. And then they even stop talking to you. And you're like, what happened? Where did you go? I miss you. So it's, you see it all the time, because it's hard. Even like yesterday, this is so like sidetracking. I was talking to mom and we were talking about peer pressure even at her age. Yeah, she's 72 and she's telling me about peer pressure. Yeah, to go out in COVID and we're like, you're staying in the house, we're locking you. So there's peer pressure at all levels. It doesn't stop. From the little kids to the older generation, it's there. And it really comes back to what are my values, what do I value, and then making decisions based on that.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So I have a question. What about if I am the toxic one? If I am the toxic, narcissistic manager that I don't realize, maybe I don't realize I'm narcissistic, maybe I don't realize I'm toxic, maybe I don't realize that I don't listen. What advice do you have for this person as a psychologist?
Oh, that one's hard.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Because it's like, and I say it's hard because it's like working for someone who, it's like me in therapy, working with an individual client who has denial. Yeah, that's very tricky. So what I think a strategy like that would be is for either the psychologist, HR, whoever, just to prepare like some material on what makes our work environment friendly. You know, more information about, you know, what are some of the positive things we should be doing. And when people read, I'm sure they do realize and they're like, oh no, I'm not doing that. Whoops. You know, we are able to identify ourselves because sometimes it's really tricky. You could end up confronting in a very professional way and asking for changes, though people may take it personally, which is normal. We do take things personally when we're given feedback. So it's really just looking at, I think that would be the best strategy. You know, just one person just publishing a whole bunch of what makes the environment friendly and happy and exciting.
HR need to work with psychologists because I don't think human resources, traditional human resources, never touches on mental health and so that's definitely. But just talking about this, what do you think corporates can do? Like I personally, for my experience and my perspective, not enough is being done. I can go talk to my human resources, I can go talk to legal and ethics, I can go talk to the audit, but again, as you said, it will just be a hearing and usually not enough actions being taken. So let's challenge them. What do you think they should do?
I think, so I'm not very legal and I try to ask my friends, I try to ask a couple of my learned friends. Our learned friends too. They give us a lot of advice. You know who you are. You know us. So I tried to ask them because I was trying to look up, you know, is there any section in the Employment Act that says anything specific to this? And I think there is, but I wasn't able to find it. And they didn't, I think I asked them too many legal questions. But there should be something in the Employment Act that talks about, you know, fairness, bullying, harassment, not only sexual, because that's there a lot, but even harassment in terms of this cliques, bullying and things like that. So one, using the Employment Act to implement policies in the organization. I think it's also so important that each organization comes up with the staff with values. Like what values are we going to have in the organization? What are we gonna do to make sure everybody is feeling well when they come into the office? Another thing they can do is train managers. You know, like for me, one of the organizations I worked in my first assignment with them, I had a field management training. And the training really goes into detail as to, you know, how to handle a lot of these things. And there's a series of trainings. So you do the intro part, you have the second part, the third part to really equip you. Because it's hard to do some of these things. It's hard to deal with cliques, you know. It's not something easy, and we do need to be equipped with skills so that you can be able to deal with them. And then also to have policies. Because what you're saying with regards to you go share with someone and then nothing is done, or it's like they go tell the person that you're giving feedback about, and then you just end up there. And it's like, why did I talk? Like I thought this was supposed to be fair. So I think that's, for me, it's also the policies and that they should be implemented. And I strongly do feel that mental health needs to be incorporated in a lot of these organizations, because HR can look at the operational policies and guidelines, and then mental health can look at our social, emotional, and physical well-being aspect and really work together. Because even when they do that, it's cheaper for the company because people are not going to the hospital to talk about physical ailments that are coming because of the toxic work environment. So it's also looking at at how people can work together, link their different ideas, skills to make the environment a friendly one.
Okay, so I mean, you've talked about something that I always love to end on a happy note. You've talked about something that's really important. What are healthy work environments? What do they bring to organizations? Because you've had experiences in working in both. So what has that meant to you? What has that meant to the organization? And how do we encourage corporates or like any formal workplaces to use, just to encourage and cultivate that healthy work environment?
Oh, when I think of that, I think of the current place I'm working, and I just feel so blessed that I'm in an environment that's so healthy like that. So
even though you're dealing with hard stuff, right?
Yeah, and especially that because currently where I work, you work in an environment where there's active war, and our work is so good. They make the environment so nice and friendly. We support each other. And I think a couple of things for me would be, the first one is just a general level of respect. Everybody respecting everyone. Everyone's opinion is important. From the guard who guards the office, to the driver who drives people, to the supervisors, to the staff on the ground, to the tea lady, that everybody's role is important, and really reinforcing this for everyone and making sure that there's respect at all levels, because that's the first thing. People will feel that respect. They will be motivated to come into work. They will be excited that they're coming into work. If you are a manager and your people are not greeting you or hiding when you come into work.
Sorry,
no, it's true. It's true. But you see, these are things that you actually notice, and that's when you know, maybe I'm not so nice. And if people are running away because you're coming, it should be like, oh, Sandra is here, exciting. Let's say hi, let's see how we are doing. So it really should be that respect on all levels. Everybody, from every single, the guard, the driver, because everybody's role is so important. And they're the ones who make the company what they are. It's not just the person at the top who's bringing more clients, who's doing this. It's everybody. Because if that tea lady was not there, you wouldn't have tea and you'd be thirsty.
Pretty tired and upset that you don't have your tea in the morning,
So it's really important.
All right, cool. So just to conclude, do you have like any parting shots or conclusions? Just you can talk about anything around mental health, the workplace. So yeah, just anything like you'd like to share.
I think for me as a mental health professional, I want to say I think I'm so happy first I got into mental health, because it's helped me even as an individual. And I think I've been so privileged to study it, because I pick a lot of things from what I studied and I use it. And I would like people to really make it a priority, because it is a priority. It's not something you think about, after, or as a by the way. Mental health is always something, you look at the definition for health, for WHO, it's physical, they talk about physical, social, and emotional well-being, meaning that it is a component of health that we need to make sure we're well. And being mentally well is not, you don't have an illness. It's, you have big feelings, you know how to identify them, sit with them, and what to do, deal with them, so that the next time you're able to manage it. Not avoiding when feelings come. If you have a mental health illness, that you are taking care of it, you're managing and coping with it also, whether it's medication, getting therapy, and incorporating all these different things to help you. And also, I think one of the things I've had from a number of my friends, because I always have friends reaching out and asking me, who should I go to? Who do you think is the best person? Or even saying, who should I start with, a psychiatrist or a psychologist? And so for me, I always give the advice that you start with a psychologist if it's something that needs therapy. And also, when you meet with your psychologist, it's good to ask them the experience, what they've done. We're supposed to tell people that. What kind of clients we've seen, how long we've been in practice, what our niche is, so that you can see if this person is a right fit for you, so that they're able to provide this support that you need. When we look at a psychiatrist is a mental health, is a medical doctor who has specialized in psychiatric care. So a psychologist is 7 years minimum of studying behavior, how to do therapy. So the two roles merge together well to have better outcomes for the client. Though saying that I'll go see this person or that person, it doesn't work. So it's more this incorporation. Though I always advise people to start with a psychologist if it's not a mental health illness that needs stabilization and medication, to start with that. And then if they're referred by a psychologist or a psychiatrist, then they can see them from that aspect. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, but I really believe in doing your research. Just don't go to who everybody is seeing. Yeah, because I think right now, and I say this very cautiously and carefully, right now there's a lot of people who are, even today in the morning, there was an article in the newspaper where a counseling psychologist made such a judgmental comment. And it broke my heart because I was thinking, the media has put this person out there as a psychologist, the person you go to be non-judgmental, to listen to you. And I was like, why don't you call people who will say it in a different way, who will make people know that I can go to a psychologist when I'm in my deepest pain and I need someone to listen to me and help me recover. So it's really, do your research. You can even message me or find me on email to ask me if you want, for anyone watching, and I will lead you to people who I think are pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, thank you so much for that, Nyawira. And thanks for taking your time. Thank you for being so honest. Thank you for explaining what toxicity in the workplace is, because I don't think many people know. Some people think it's just managers are meant to be mean, managers are meant to be narcissistic, and I personally, from my point of view, that's not the way.
Yeah. And remember, it's managers and also co-workers. Yeah, let's not also just look at managers. Like, what did your manager do to you? And I'm joking. But it's also co-workers. It's everybody in the system.
So I mean, that's been super enlightening for me. So thanks so much for that. And look her up on LinkedIn. She's very knowledgeable. I always tell her she should start her own organization. But let's put the pressure on her. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed the conversation around how workplace toxicity can actually affect your mental, emotional, and actually physical. I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways is with this conversation was identifying what toxicity is. What is actually workplace toxicity? And I think she mentioned it really well. It's that narcissistic, people who don't want to hear it's my way or the highway manager or co-worker. It's the cliques at the workplace where you feel very left out and very isolated. It is the poor communication, where communication is not flowing freely, so you're never too sure to enable you to do your best. And those are very, very important. And I really do think speaking to Nyawira and understanding it can get to a place where you're down and with TB, that's kind of where to stop. Your mental health is very important. And guard it, take care of it, seek the help that she's advised, and let's keep these conversations going. And also to challenge the corporate workplaces out there. Take this seriously. She has given suggestions around bringing in wellness champions, HR speaking to the therapists and the psychologists, looking at your policies, because this problem is real and it is impacting our workplace, but we want to have successful businesses. So let's focus on that. So thank you. Please just leave your comments. Let me know what you thought of the episode. And you can follow her on her LinkedIn. And again, thanks for your time and thanks for listening.
It's a beautiful day.